All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Small Talk Big Ideas, the show where we get into the minds of the most ingenious brands and entrepreneurs in Malaysia. My name is Raj. I'm a digital strategist with Blankslate. We are a digital marketing and creative consulting agency in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And as usual, we have the cast of the show, the one and only Mr. Bryan Lim, director of Core Studios, a full-service production house. And we have Mr. Ming Yue, the head honcho, the director of Blankslate. What up, guys? How you guys doing?
What's up?
How's the MCO treating you guys so far?
I think MCO is pretty much like normal now. Everyone's driving around. There's like traffic jams.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right?
It's as if the queue has been invented. No?
So, all right. Anyways, jumping straight into the topic for today's show. Today, for those of y'all watching, we are going to be giving y'all a sneak peek into what we do in our day-to-day job, which is basically helping brands and companies grow as fast as they can at exponential rates. We're going to talk about competition today. Today, we are going to discuss some of the things that we have done for our own company, for our clients, and other things that we have observed other brands do in order to become more competitive in the market. So to kick things off today, the first question that I'm going to throw out to the both of y'all. What do you guys think is the most important thing that a brand can do in order to immediately become more competitive?
For me, coming from my role, I feel like every brand, every company or product services should have like a proper, legit, solid strategy behind everything that you do. And then most importantly, also a solid operation process. I think I read somewhere this article where they categorize there are 4 different types of companies. What are they? Oh yeah. So there's the visionaries who have a differentiated strategy but fall short on like operation side. And then there's like the second one will be doers. Doers have effective operations but are in need of like proper legit strategy. And the third one will be the hopefuls, which needs both of them, like doesn't have a solid strategy and operations. And then there are the fourth one, the last one would be the differentiators. The differentiators would have a solid brand strategy and effective operations to carry out a solid campaign or solid business. So yeah, I think both of these are pretty crucial.
Right. That's a very good point, Bryan, because I think on Blankslate's end, we've sort of noticed a lot of companies and organizations that have already dabbled their fingers in social media, for example, they indulge in something called random acts of marketing, where they are trying different leads that people have told them work, whether it's TikTok or using Instagram or Facebook or buying ads. They are just trying all these different tactics, but they don't have an underlying strategy to push them forward. So I think that's such a great point. You got to know exactly what you are doing and why you are doing it. Amazing point. Ming Yue, is there anything else you want to add?
Sorry, what was the question again?
The question is, what is the first thing, the most crucial thing that a business can do in order to immediately become more competitive?
Wow, immediately. I think like I always tell this to brands and their managers is it's so important to have an understanding of your. I mean, everyone knows their product, right? Everyone knows their product. Everybody knows their market. But sometimes I think when you spend so much time in that position, in your market, doing things over and over again, you tend to lose sight of who you're actually speaking to. And I think that's why there's a lot of waste of budget and marketing money spent falling on deaf ears because you have completely lost out the understanding of who you're supposed to be speaking to. And that's why I think if you want to be competitive, being competitive is one thing, staying competitive is actually really looking around you and seeing what your competitors are doing that is correct. You know, what are they doing that's resonating with the audience? And I think when it comes to just like understanding your product and your audience, I mean, you can be marketing to the same age group of people for like 50 years, you know, because your product is supposed to be, you know, baby's milk, and technically, you know, the milk is going to be for babies. You're not talking about old people, right? But there will always be new ways to market that item, because maybe a new generation of people are not looking at newspaper ads anymore. And I feel like a lot of brands become less competitive or are not effective, and they spend money in a way that's very wasteful because they think that one method fits all. And I don't think that's the case.
Right. So to sort of summarize what you just said, we really need to understand the market well, knowing what the competitors is doing, and knowing what is working and what is not working for them,
Yeah.
and sort of use that to guide your decisions.
Mm.
Well, that's a really good point. It reminds me of a quote from I was reading this book recently, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. People say it's the businessman's guidebook, right? And that's a very good point. It reminds me of a saying: if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. So I think what you
Get
said
out of here, man.
summarized that really well, right?
Coming in with the quotes,
So okay, great points, strategy, and knowing what the competitors up to. Keep your friends close, but keep your enemies close. So of course, in business, I think using the term enemies can be a bit of a very harsh term, but we are all people trying to provide value to the market. It's who can communicate and provide that value better. Now, let's jump into a list of things that a lot of brands and companies have been using in order to remain more competitive. And we're going to try to dissect each of these items and talk about the pros and the cons and the best practices of each of them. Let's start off with social media. Whichever brand that is not on social media at this point of time, in my opinion, have already lost the battle. Because you are losing out on reaching out to a vast audience. You are losing out an opportunity to convey your message to the people that would be interested in your product. But of course, then again, there is a right way and a not so right way in handling social media accounts for your business. So the first question I want to throw to the both of y'all is, should brands be on social media? Yes or no? Silly question, but let's discuss it.
Just for lols, no. But yes, yes. I feel social media is pretty important. Like especially with the whole, even more so with the whole COVID situation right now. But I also think that there might be an exception because you know how all those uncle auntie business and all the parents are more used to like recommendations and word of mouth. I feel word of mouth is still one of the more effective ways of marketing, but no doubt social media enhances it. And I mean, it's sort of a word of mouth digitally, right? Social media.
Right.
Yeah. Just that I think traditional business without social media, no doubt they're losing out, but they will still have business from all the other traditional customers.
Right. They're more loyal customers, like the way.
Yeah.
Ming Yue, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, I agree with Brian. Definitely, it's people see it because it's so bankable, right? That term, like, oh, you must be on digital platforms, you must be on social media, and to be honest, you don't have to do anything people tell you to do. So you can, yes, I think the answer is no, you don't have to be on social media. But if you don't mark on social media, then what are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna go door to door? And I think a lot of things that companies and sometimes, unfortunately, older marketers don't realize and are not willing to admit is that they think that social media is an option. They think that social media is something new and untested. But if you look at the return in terms of like your impressions and how much you're spending per potential customer, right? If you look at traditional like radio, newspaper, TV, right? Each customer you reach is actually exponentially higher than what you're doing and reaching on social media itself. It's way cheaper. It's way more effective. It's way faster. Very low barriers and margins for entry. And the way that I guess messaging and communication is spread on social media it's at a rate and a pace where it doesn't make sense not to be on anymore. Like the turnover time for something to be conveyed from a brand to a customer is literally a refresh away, which can be seconds with internet, right? And so I think it's important, but I think being on social media is one thing. I think it's even more important for a business to be 100% clear with what they're doing on social media, because we've had a couple of clients come in, a couple of brands, and they're telling us that, oh, I've got social media platforms, and we're like, oh, what do you guys use? And they tell us they have, your standard, your Trinity, right? You have your Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and they have Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr, LinkedIn. I'm like, what are you doing on Pinterest? And who is on Pinterest and Tumblr? They're like stuff like that, right? Just because it's a social media platform doesn't mean it's necessary for your brand. Yeah.
Right. So you got to use the channels which allow you to communicate best with your customers, not all the channels. That's what you're trying to say, right? Right. Very good point. And so two interesting things that I sort of got from what you just said. Number one, in terms of choosing channels, I agree wholeheartedly with you. Instead of spending time and resources on 10 different channels, we should try to figure out which 2 or 3 channels are going to give us the best return on investment and focus our time and effort on that. It's something like the Pareto principle, right? The 80-20 principle. 20% of our work is going to give 80% of the results. And I think that's something we do in Blankslate for our clients as well. We try to find what gives them the highest ROI and we utilize that. So if I give you a hypothetical situation, if I was a B2B company, what platforms do you think I should be focusing on if I want to have a social media presence? And Bryan, maybe you can jump in and let us know in terms for marketing for Core Studios, have there been any specific social media channels that have been showing a higher ROI compared to others?
I think for B2B, definitely, okay, I'm not too sure about promotion and marketing wise, but definitely a lot of B2B business owners are hanging around like LinkedIn. That's something that you need to have some sort of presence on. Not to say majority of the presence, majority of the social media marketing, but you gotta have some sort of activity on LinkedIn, especially if it's a B2B business. Other than that, if your product and services, it's mainly catered towards consumers, then go to the usual Facebook, Instagram, where the consumers are. Yeah. And as for Core Studios is a pretty unique case because we have the B2B side and we have the B2C side. B2C side would be catering towards our viewers, creating videos for them on our YouTube channel with our channel called The Ming Ting Takeaway. And recently we came out with this show called the Duduk Rumah series. And all these are sort of a B2C marketing effort, brand awareness effort. And then as for the B2B side, it's mainly dealing with clients. So all these things, I wouldn't really recommend a strong platform to like just focus on. I would say you just need to diverse everything because clients who engage Core Studios got to know us from B2C platforms as well, like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. But because we weren't really active on LinkedIn before this, we're starting to, but we weren't active before this, we didn't really get any leads from LinkedIn. But it is still a platform that I think you should consider like being present in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Ming Yue, what do you think?
I think I definitely agree with Bryan with that one because I think when you use certain websites like LinkedIn and stuff like that, there is a very every time what we do when we consult, I guess, brands and people in brands is we always ask them like when you use a platform, who are you thinking? Who is going to be the guy who's scrolling through or hitting something, right? And if I'm going on LinkedIn, I have a very specific purpose. I'm either looking for people or looking for opportunities there. So it's very specific, and so that's why I would craft the advertisements or the messaging to be centric on that one. But that being said, I think to reach businesses, honestly, I think sometimes we forget that at the end of the day, businesses are made out of people, and people have lives. And so that's why when you break it down into Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, again, when you go back to like your B2C, right? They are still there are still people who are scrolling through these social media platforms with other intentions, but you are inserting your messaging through their casual scrolling. So for example, if I'm just watching a tutorial video of maybe how to cook something, right, and you are a company that is targeting people to you're selling a set of knives, all right, or cutlery, and I know that I want to hit people who are active in the kitchen right now, I would make it a point to make sure that all my ads land on land on content that is relevant to what they're searching for. So that being said, these people maybe are doing their own personal research, but they also may be working for a food company that they potentially may engage us for. In the future. So I think that it always works in twofold. One is if you're hitting B2Bs, never forget that the people in the Bs are Cs as well. Right? Yeah.
Nice.
What do you think, Raj? What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with the points that you guys brought forward. It's really important to know who is on the platform, who is on the channel, and who we are targeting. It's really important to understand that. Coming back to your first point, Bryan, you need to have a strategy. Tactics are important, but without a strategy to guide them, it's going to be something that we call random acts of marketing. Now, before we jump to the next part, one tip from each of y'all, all right? One tip that you think is the most important that businesses can use in order to be successful on social media. There's 1,001 things we can do, but in your opinion, what is the most important thing that people might misunderstand about social media sometimes, which are sabotaging their efforts?
For me, I really like if the brand is being like personalized, and try to craft their message and try to improve the overall brand welcoming experience with the consumers. Let's just say it's not just social media, but rather the whole brand itself. If their product and service experience, for example, Apple, when you think of Apple, you think of all the good products, and ultimately, if you have a good product, good service, good experience, your social media would just enhance it. And putting it as an example, another example would be if you go to a restaurant, you want to be served with good food, good quality food, and good experience by the waiters, by the managers. So it's the same thing. Switch it the other way around. Good experience, I guess. Improving the experience.
I think my advice would be you don't have to do what everyone's doing. I think a very common misconception with social media is that there is a need to jump on virality, on trends, right? And I mean, don't get me wrong. I think real-time marketing and viral marketing is very good component, but it shouldn't be the only component. Like you should not, as a brand, feel the need to do everything that's doing like that everyone else is doing, right? So, for example, I'll give you a very basic example of maybe in production with Core. I think for a very long time, I think everyone remembers that meme dude, Salt Bay, right?
Yeah.
Like the guy who was like sprinkling salt in a very fancy way. And for two, I think it came out last year, early Jan, and up to this year in February, January, there were still customers who have been asking us to write scripts based on that Salt Bay dude, and we're like, dude, it's way past its time. It has no relevance. Just because you think that it was viral doesn't mean it's still viral. Doesn't mean it's relevant, you know. And small things like that. I understand that people in brands and marketers pick up and they're like, oh, I want to cash in on this and bank in on this. But sometimes on a grander scale, it just seems like a cheap trick to try to attract people to make them like what you're selling, right? And more often times than not, it actually diminishes the effectiveness of your message and makes it look really just distasteful. So
Yeah.
I would say like this, brands really don't have to just jump in on every freaking hype train there is. Like there's no need for that.
Right.
I think to add on to like Ming Yu's point also, it's about finding your own brand voice, like your own brand identity, finding your own voice. Yeah.
Yeah, because then again, not every viral trend is going to fit your brand, right? Why would a brand who is selling and promoting skincare products want to use Salt Bay as an image in their campaign? It doesn't really make much sense. No matter how you try to incorporate it, what do you want to do? Sprinkle moisturizer on your skin? I don't know. It doesn't make sense, right? So to add on to the question, the one tip, I'm going to give two tips if that's all right. Please, nobody summon me. Number one, people always talk about valuable content. It's all about creating relatable content that will resonate with your audience, giving them value. What exactly is value, right? When it comes to content on social media, I think it revolves around three things. Number one, intent. Number 2, visual. And number 3, copy. Every single post that goes up on your social media channel, number 1, you need to know what is the purpose, what is the intention of that post. Are you trying to educate your audience? Are you trying to share a promotion? Or are you just making your Instagram channel a sales brochure? Each of them is going to have a different effect on your audience. Number 2, your visual. How are you going to communicate that message? And number 3, copy. The choice of words that you use can really dictate the personality of your brand and your ability to convince your customer that, hey, this product is good for you and we are looking out for you when you use our product. And number 2, this is something really important and fundamental. People have ran social media campaigns and they spent a lot of time, money, and resources into running their Instagram, their Facebook pages, and they don't see the results that they want because, and this is what I've observed, is because people forget that social media has the word social in it. There is a social aspect to it. So if you are posting high quality content, but if you are not engaging with the people around you, you're not talking to other brands, you're not talking to your customers, you're not showing them that you care, you're not sending them a DM or replying to their comments, then you're missing out the social aspect of social media, right? So how are you going to build a trust and a relationship if you don't do that? And I think this is something vital for brands and companies to remember.
Yeah. Actually, to talk off that point also, I was just recently talking to our own social media team, Core Studios. All we've been like doing our internal branding, social media, like putting up our portfolio, putting up our show reels, whatever that we've done. Those are all considered as like, I would say, branding, like a boast in another word, right? But I think social media, when you mentioned just now social, right? It needs to have the element of either informing or educating an audience or even entertaining an audience so that people would just like and share and if they like something. Yeah. So I think it's pretty apt that you brought up this point.
Excellent. That's great. So for those of you all who are still tuning in with us, we have some really important pieces of information here, which we think will really help your business. Be sure to write it down, use it, and let us know in the comment section or wherever you're listening this on. Let us know whether this has worked for you. All right. Now, for the second item or the second tactic that people commonly use when it comes to being more competitive in the market. For this second one, I'm going to be a bit of the devil's advocate. And I want you guys to try to convince me if you think I should be convinced that this is a good tactic for companies to use in order to become more competitive. Video marketing and using videos to let people know more about your brand. Now, whatever I'm saying now is not my thoughts. I'm just playing devil's advocate, all right? I think video marketing is very time consuming. You need to pay a lot of money for it. And it's a bit difficult for me to see my ROI. I don't know how to see how effective video marketing is going to be for my brand. How would you guys change my mind or try to convince me otherwise?
I mean, Core Studios is a video content company. So of course I would promote and recommend. But as me being a consumer, video marketing, it's part of multiple genres of like marketing. It's one of the tools that we use to again inform, educate, or entertain audience while putting in our branding, for example. So even if you don't have the budget to do video marketing, honestly, it's just a genre. You can still opt for banner or graphics, something that's more affordable. But of course, people nowadays, statistics shows that people are interacting more with video content. So that's something to consider.
I agree. I think video marketing is a waste of time. I honestly agree because if you come in from that standpoint, there's very little I can do to tell you otherwise, right? So I'll probably ask, okay, so if you think it's a waste of time, what do you think is going to work, right? And then we'll probably get some answers back and forth. We're like, oh yeah, it's not going to work. So realistically, if you are a service of selling wet paper towels, and you tell me that video marketing is a waste of time, yeah, maybe I agree with you. Because you know who's searching videos for wet paper towels, right? But I honestly think that there are a million more ways to tell stories. to talk about what you're selling, why you're selling it, your message, your product, who you are. And I think that maybe video is it's good to have. I think that every company, this is my personal opinion, should have one video, and that video should be your main product and who you are, why you're doing what you're doing. They have that as a video, and everything else can be optional. Because if I have to go to a company's website who's selling cups, I don't need to watch a video about your cups. Because I mean, why would I? I'm like, oh, that's a nice cup. That's great, good job. I'll see in the pictures. Like that video, use it as a platform to tell something else that is going to be harder to tell in a, I don't know, in an Instagram caption. You know, something about why you're doing what you're doing. Explain why I should be spending my money with you. I think that's why there is certain areas in which videos really do things that can't be done through, you know, your usual pictures and stuff like that. But honestly, I don't know, maybe because we hear it quite often, like, oh, video is so expensive, video is so hard to do, you know? Yeah, it is. And we're not asking you to do it, we'll do it for you.
Right. So for, I guess, smaller businesses, SMEs, who might not be able to invest a lot of their resources into getting many videos done, what you'd recommend is getting at least one video done that showcases your brand in a very authentic manner.
Correct.
Right. Okay, cool. So let's talk about using videos. Let's link it back to our social media channels, right? In terms of content being posted out. I think we have all agreed that having valuable, relatable content is a great way to go about on social media. Of course, depending on the channels that we're using. Where does video fit into that equation? Do you think posting images and posting quotes, you know, like my favorite Sun Tzu quote just now, is going to be effective? Or do you think there's a place for video there as well?
I think every post types have their own audience. My mom's a very heavy video watcher, video consumer. She just browses videos on Facebook, and that's all. That's pretty much most of the time that she spends on her phone. And there are also people who are seeking out for like deep quotes on Instagram. I think there's no harm trying out different posts as long as you stick to your own brand voice. Like you got to align your own brand voice. That's the most important.
Yeah, definitely. I like to look at so what we do for brands is that when we help with their social media platforms, we come up with a content calendar for the entire month, right? We sit down with them, we ask them, what is it that you want to highlight this month? Is there a specific product or offer or service that you want people to take notice of this month? Is there anything that's in conjunction with a major event or date like Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, you know, stuff like that? And then from there, we start crafting social media assets to fit the calendar, whether it's every day, whether it's once or twice a week, whether it's alternate days, stuff like that. And then we start putting in the formats. So it's messaging, then it's the format, right? So formats, we're looking at still images, moving images, and then full-on videos. And I think that, like Bryan said, it's good to have a variation of these things because sometimes one particular format may hit a different group of people in a different way. And maybe on days that I don't want to see a video, because I don't have the time for it, I scroll past and I just see your product picture. I know what you're selling. If I want it, I'll get it. I got no time to sit through it like a 2, 3 minute, 5 minute video. But I also think that it's good to have variation because sometimes if I'm not in the mood to watch a video today, tomorrow I might be. So if you post up another video tomorrow, I might watch that one and I'll click onto the profile and go back again. So it's hard to say and to set it in stone in saying that this one works 100%, this one doesn't work, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with humans and humans are very fickle beings, right? Like we base our entire day and decisions based on how we feel at that moment. And if at that moment you don't hit anybody, it's not just because, I mean, maybe the way you're doing it is wrong, but sometimes there's this thing called human error, and I don't think we take note of that because as humans, we can plan all we want. But if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and that day sucks, there's just a high chance that you're not going to be consuming a certain type of content that you would if you were in a better state of mind. So that's something that I feel brands need to be understanding of as well. And so a wider net cast will get you more fish.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
I love that at the end, bro. The nice analogy.
Thanks. I like the clap at the end. That's accidental though.
Bryan, you were saying?
yeah, like on top of that also, I mean, recently Nike just posted a Black Lives Matter kind of ad where it's all full-on quotes of the whole video. So I'm not really a quotes person, but I just continue watching it. So I think it works in different ways, even though like you say,
Right.
just cast your net.
Yeah, and then like cast your net, but also make sure that no matter what kind of content you're creating, whether it's a graphic or a video or a boomerang or a carousel, it still resonates with your brand personality. You're not trying to be someone you're not, right?
Yeah, correct. That's what
Yeah,
Nike did.
right. Um, so like Mingyu, you mentioned just now that if a brand has to have one video, it should be that video which conveys what their brand is about in an attempt to communicate with the customer and to communicate value essentially. So let's talk about some of the brands who you guys think have done that really well, who have created this video which perfectly conveyed who their brand is and what they stand for. Do you guys have any brands that come to mind? So I'll kick it off if you guys don't mind. Um, there's this company in the States called Dollar Shave Club.
Man, I was just gonna say that
You're
one.
gonna say that. So I don't know whether we are allowed to put in snippets or whatnot, but if you guys just Google search Dollar Shave Club, this is how the ad looks like. I don't know if y'all can see this, but Dollar Shave Club, they basically created this. It's an infomercial of sorts, right? With a formula to it in such a funny and authentic manner that really showed the quality of their products and who they are as a brand. So you guys should definitely go check that out if you want to know, what kind of videos would sort of work for your brand as that one main hero video. Dollar Shave Club is a good place to start. But do you guys have any other brands in mind that have done something similar?
For me, I think maybe a really good. I'll just take maybe. Okay, maybe I'll just use Nike. Nike's really good at making videos, right? And Nike doesn't just sell shoes. They've got a massive amount of like products. They've got apparel. They've got fashionable wear. They've got their shoes. They've got technology. They have things that we don't even know they have, right? But every time you have stuff that goes on Nike, or you see a big viral campaign where all your superstars are inside, they are doing different things, that they're representing different walks of life. And it's not always about what they're wearing, and the shoes. Of course, they're close-ups, you got to get the nice branding, nice shots, right? But then it leaves you with a sense of, wow, how can I be a part of whatever the heck I just saw? And that's such a powerful way to market. And that's something that I think that people, brands strive to do. Those brands who understand that there is we call it brand love, the affection for a brand, the way that you feel, or the way the brand makes you respond emotionally. Then there's also your product centric one, like Apple. Every new iPhone, they tell you it's revolutionary, it's the best. It is. I mean, if it wasn't, they wouldn't be selling it. But I think, going back to what Raj said, if you are a company who doesn't have the capital, who doesn't have the budget to create new videos every other month, and you have maybe one or two products at max, instead of fully jumping on just talking about your product, right? Because I'm sure you have assets of that. You have write-ups about what the product has, the ingredients, where it's from, why it's so locally sourced and stuff, right? Don't talk about that, because that's easily available. Talk about why people should buy it. Talk about why you are selling it. What is it in it for you besides profit, right? And I think sometimes sometimes people might think, oh, but that doesn't help the product sales. Yeah, it doesn't. But if you give people a way to understand you and your brand, that actually holds a lot more value. And that's why a lot of I guess NGOs and a lot of nonprofit organizations, they have a lot of emphasis on the message. So I think it's important, and it's about time that brands start doing this, because not every single thing has to be about the product that you're selling. People know the product. Coca-Cola doesn't tell you about how much sugar there is in their product, because of course nobody wants to hear that lah. They tell you about how it makes you feel, about how you can have a better time with Coca-Cola, stuff like that. So I think it's important to start appealing to people's emotions, not just the value of the product, because I think value is a very perceivable concept. And if brands can get past the fact that value isn't just I'm stuffing all these benefits down your throat for that amount of money, if it can make me feel a certain way, then that's why people have favorite brands, right? Because it's not just about, oh, I bought it for a very expensive price, a very cheap price. I bought it because I feel something towards the brand. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to also emphasize on like Ming Yue's point, because I really like his point, because in the past, our past experiences, lots of marketers, lots of brands think that, oh, if I'm just doing brand love, I'm just creating a story, but not really showcasing our brand or services or products, then where does my ROI comes from? Like, how do I get my ROI? Instead of thinking that way, think of it like what Ming Yu said is our brand love, triggering the audience's emotions towards your brand. Like I was just recently inspired by this Netflix series called The Last Dance. It's a documentary about Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls, and his journey, obviously, and that actually sparked off like nowadays people are actually jacking up all his Air Jordan's shoes.
Yeah.
And literally he just did a documentary, but all his Jordan shoes are on the rise. So is there a correlation where, oh, I wanted to make this documentary to hike up the price? No, but it actually relates to the brand love.
So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you all still tuning in to Small Talk Big Ideas, we have just dropped some information bombs on how you can use video for your business. Once again, let us know in the comment section if you guys have any questions, or if you all learned anything in specific from this conversation, or if you guys have tried any of these tactics that we have shared with you guys. Let's put this to a vote again. So can we say for a fact that if your business has the resources, going into video marketing as frequently as you can, if it fits your overall strategy, would be a good idea. But if you do not have the resources, then it's important to have that one hero video that conveys your brand in a well manner. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Agreed. Awesome. Excellent. Now to our third and final tactic for today on how to become more competitive. When we are talking about digital, in fact, when we are talking about that hero video that we just talked about, one of the few places that we will position this video or we will place this video is on a website. I know a lot of brands who still do not have websites of their own. Of course, if you're something like an e-commerce store, if you're an e-commerce brand, if you don't have a website, then I don't know what to say, lah. You know, like a website is necessary for you.
Are you even e-commerce? You know?
Are you even e-commerce, right? But for companies like us, right, we are more B2B, we are more agency based, we're a video production house. Our transactions don't happen online. We are more of sharing information on our website. Now, Core Studios, we have a website. Blankslate, we're currently going through a revamp of our website and we're launching the new one soon. But how effective has been having a website been for you guys in terms of, I guess, being more prominent in the market or getting leads? Bryan, maybe you want to start?
Okay, I wouldn't say you should bank on the website to have most of your leads, but it definitely helps because actually we do receive a lot of leads from our website. We have a contact form there where people just fill in their messages and inquiries. Yeah, we do get a substantial amount of leads from there, and then we just follow up from them. And if you're a business without a website, I think it still works if you have a solid social media page like Facebook or Instagram, where the transaction and interaction and engagement happens. For me, I would say website is just showcasing what is your company about, like your portfolio, your brand story. Yeah.
Right, Bryan, if you don't mind sharing, I don't know whether this is PNC or if you're comfortable to share this, but you know, we're delivering value to our audience. How many % of your leads for Core Studios would you say comes from your website amongst all your other lead generation methods?
Leads, I would say is about 40%.
That's quite high. Yeah. Cool. And Ming Yue, you mentioned that You agreed with the fact that Brian said that if you have a very strong social media presence, then a website uh, would would not be necessary immediately, right?
Yeah.
And I think for Blank Slate, we have been operating in that manner for quite some
Yeah.
time. Like the website is something that we are revamping and setting up again, but before this, we have been operating mainly through social media.
Yeah.
How effective has that strategy been for you?
Uh, I agree. I think this one is really by the nature of your business. Not every business requires a website. It's good to have it. So I'll take a very good example is, for example, like people like Renyi and My Burger Lab, Inside Scoop. These as F&B brands. Do they need a website? They could, but it's not necessary for them to function. Do they need a social media platform? Yes, they do. So Facebook and Instagram, stuff like that, is something that they can communicate with their customers directly to convey offers and new promotions, new items on their menu. It's very good because people get that notifications and they see the new information. I wouldn't think immediately to go to Burger Lab's website every day. So that's why I don't think it's important. Like what's the customer mind journey, that happens when you think about whether you should be on a website. That being said, though, I think it's also important for certain brands to have websites, especially when it comes to education and information. I think websites and landing pages they might be one of the most effective way for customers to deep dive and get information at their own pace, because when you do it through pictures and videos, it's very condensed and it's limited to maybe that frame or that duration of 3 to 5 minutes. But if I want to find out way more information, every time you see a video or caption, there's always TNC applied. And where is the TNC? It's never in the picture, it's never in the video. TNC is always on the website, or it's on some separate document, right? And I think I like to think of websites as TNC holders. Like, for example, a very good example that we do work with is with McDonald's, where we help out with their content. What McDonald's does is they have of course, their McDonald's Malaysia website. They have their McDelivery website, but above that, they have a menu that you can go and see all the standard items, what's in it, the nutritional value, ingredients, a brief description. But above that, even more, there's also limited time offer microsites. So, for example, recently there was the Samurai Burger and the Shogun Burger, and what we at Blankslate do is we help populate that micro website. It's only maybe about 2 or 3 scrolls down, where you have a picture of your burger. There's a video there, and then we break it down into descriptions of the burger, and maybe there's a competition that's going on or something that is relevant to what a customer would be attracted to try the burger. And that's a microsite that people land on to get more information about the product. And having that website is a great it's a great way to feed people additional info if they're interested, when you link it to I guess your ads or content on Facebook and Instagram. When you swipe up or you click hyperlink and it redirects you. So that being said, I think that websites are, it really just depends on the nature of your business, the nature of your product, nature of your service. Is it a necessity? No. Just like videos, I don't think it's a necessity. But if you can invest time and resource into it, you should. Because like Brian said, I mean, it may not apply to everybody. Like, leads may not be generated from your website directly, because sometimes website information may not have a call to action. Maybe they don't have a trackable call to action. We're like, with us in the contact form, there's a very tangible track, because we get information and inquiries from the website. But if I'm just telling you about my wet paper towels and I don't link it there, I just tell you go to Lazada, maybe, and maybe that's a call to action. But if it's just TNC and there's nothing for you to do, you probably be like, oh, I understand the TNC now, I'm just going to go back and join the competition. And that competition was on Instagram, and you just post out a picture. You can't really track that, and so that's not as tangible as you like it to be. So don't feel the pressure, again, like, as we said at the start of this, right? Just because there's so many platforms doesn't mean you dip your fingers in all of them. It's a bit hard to maintain. It might come across as just like, what are you guys doing? No direction. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the website.
Right. Yeah, I think it's also important for people to differentiate between like website and a sales landing page or microsite. Yeah.
Right, Brian. So what's the difference between the two things that you just mentioned, landing page and a website?
Actually, me, you pretty much summed it up. Like website, it's more informational, and sales landing page, you can use it for like campaigns or sales offers, where there's a call to action to it, where website is just a story or an informational based site.
Right. Awesome. Cool. Wow. Very interesting insights and opinions, guys. So in terms of a website, I know that a lot of the SMEs that I've talked to before, they have gotten uh, rather good results from having a website. But like what you said, Mingyu, the customer journey is important. For the amount of effort that I'm putting in into building a website or hiring someone to build a website, will it get me the ROI that I'm looking for? And I know some people, definitely the nature of their business is it's compulsory for them to get a website, but they do not have the resources, the time, the energy, or the technical talent to be able to do that. So I just want to throw out another tool that you guys can use. It's called Google My Business. I'm going to Google that right now. So Google My Business is essentially a sort of directory that you can use. If you don't want to go to the full scale of building a website, you literally fill in the blanks and your business will still appear on Google search, even though you don't have a website. So that's something for those of you all watching the show right now that y'all can use. If y'all want to build a website or something similar to a website, you still want to rank on Google searches, but you do not want to go through that whole process of getting a website set up. Awesome, guys. So, wow, amazing conversation, chock full of information. I think we are coming up to 1 hour right now. I think it's about time to wrap it up. Before we go, any parting words, any parting insights on the people listening on to the show right now? How can they become more competitive in the marketplace? Bryan, would you like to go first?
I would say the stuff that we mentioned earlier, it's more on like external. But I would say also consider the internal, where building an internal team. Nowadays people have this misconception where, oh, as a brand, as a business, I hire an agency temporarily just to learn how it goes, learn the ropes, and then later on I can save money by building up my own in-house team to execute and save costs, right? But I feel it should be the other way around, where you build an in-house team to be the leaders in your brand's digital marketing or marketing, but also work together with a specialized agency, teams or agency who are experts, and also be the sole decider, or not sole, be the main decider in your company on behalf of the brand with the agency. I think that's a better working relationship in terms of like building a great marketing strategy for your brand.
I think brands need to, so especially smaller brands and maybe brands who have not ventured this side of the marketing world, is that it's so important to get on digital marketing. Like if you're not, right, you're really missing out so much. And I think even this whole COVID-19 situation is such a powerful example of how brands stand the chance of missing out on business if they are not marketing on digital marketing, right? We can save the conversation about e-commerce and selling their products through digital social media platforms, all that, for another conversation. But I think the awareness here is that even if you had an e-commerce website or e-commerce business, people need to know about it. And if you don't know about it, if people don't know about it, you will have no customers. And so you could have a multi-million dollar product that saves the world from like every other like disease ever, but if nobody knows about it, it's just a product that's sitting in your hands. You need to sell it and people need to know about it. And so that's basically marketing and what it's become on the digital spheres now, because that's where everyone is. And I think if you miss out on that pool, you are holding that product in your hand, man. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Ming Yue, Bryan, thank you very much for coming on the show today. Small talk, big ideas. We talked about how your brand, your business can remain and become even more competitive in this very crowded landscape. So if you have learned anything interesting, if you have heard some interesting points, please share it with us in the comments section. We are everywhere: Spotify, YouTube, Anchor, and other social media channels. Until next time, Small Talk, Big Ideas. My name is Raj. We'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.